this video, we're going to take our light lab kit that we just unpacked and set it up in a lighting lab. So I've put my box, I've moved it down into my basement where I have as little natural light or additional light that might sort of impact my project. The upstairs of my home is very beautiful with lots of windows and skylights, but not very good for setting up a lighting lab. So I've moved down to the basement. This little area that you see here, this little play area, is my granddaughter's playroom, and it'll work perfectly for setting up my lighting lab. So you can see that I'm just now unpacking, taking the things out of the box that I received, and I'm going to plug them in one by one. So I'm taking my I've got a couple of chairs that I've set up here, and I'm thinking I'll use those for setting up the front light. And you can see that I'm taking my 6-foot extension cords and unwrapping them and plugging them into my my outlets on my dimmer box. I use the left side and the center outlet for my front light, and I'll use the one on the right for my top light. And this is my 15-foot extension cord, which is a lot longer. Now, I'm going to have to find a place to put the light for this top light, but there's probably a place that I can clip a light on the ceiling and figure that out. Now, I'm not actually doing a project at this time, but I wanted you, the student, to see how you would set up a lighting lab if you needed to do this for a project. And remember that an area of light is typically composed of 2 front lights and a top light. The top light is usually just about 5 degrees over the back of the talent or the subject, and then the front lights are generally suggested 45 degrees out and 45 degrees up. I like a tighter degree beam spread so that I can get a more closely focused area of control upon the stage or my production environment. But that's the general rule, and then once you understand the general rule, you can of course bend it and shape it to fit your needs. Sometimes for dance lighting or a TV live event production environment, I may only have a single light source as a front light. And so, again, it just depends on what your environment is. But for this particular light lab, you can see I've got 2 of my little clip lights attached to the top of my chairs. And now I just put the top light in the ceiling down here in my basement. And I'm going to get my mannequin head. Now, I have a kind of a nice little stand for my mannequin head because I'm the teacher and I ordered that for myself. Remember, your little mannequin head stands, you'll have to clip to something, or you can just put your mannequin head on a chair or on the floor. If you have it on the floor, remember there'll be reflected light off of that surface, so you might need to put a black, something dark, or a light absorbent material so you don't get a lot of reflected light. Now, again, just like you, the student, I have never turned on, plugged in, unpacked any of this equipment before. So I'm doing it for the first time. And I've got my little Stirl light that I'm thinking I'll try this as a front light. And these are a little, the Stirl lights are a little softer, and I think this will work well. And I'm looking at my mannequin head and my clip light, and I'm thinking, I'm going to have to either raise my front light or lower my mannequin head because I can see that the angle of this light is pretty straight on. So I'm unpacking the other Stirl light here, and then remember the other 2 halogen lamps in your kit are the Sylvanias. I'm going to use one of those blue boxed Sylvania lamps for my top light because I feel that they're a little higher Kelvin temperature, so it'll appear to be a little more punchy on top of my subject. So that's what I'm unpacking here, and I'll get that out of the box. I'll screw that into the clip light that I've got mounted up here in the ceiling, and then I'll begin the process of trying to focus these lights. So again, I'm not setting any of this equipment up for a specific project necessarily, but I'm just showing you, the student, that if I were to set up a light lab and I needed a general area of light, I would have 2 front lights here. My front lights are positioned approximately 30 degrees off axis, and I would like to get them approximately 30 degrees above my subject. And that's what I'm attempting to do here. I'm looking at all of these lights, and I'm like, I think I'm going to have to lower my mannequin head in order to get this. Now, I'm going to focus these fixtures, and you can see I'm attempting to kind of focus my top light. And in order to really do that correctly, I'm going to have to turn off my front lights so that I can really have a better sense of where that top light is positioned and sitting. So I'm going to turn off some other lights that I have in the space so I wouldn't trip over all my cords. And you can see my top light is really not top. It's a little bit off to the side, so I'm going to move it so I get a little more direct top light. And I'm going to notice that there's just a touch of light now over the nose. You can just see the nose glowing, and for me that's a perfect top light. That's exactly where I would like to have that light positioned to pull my talent away from the background. So I'm going to turn that light off, and now I'm going to position, try to focus my front light. And you can see I'm going to take my little subject off, lower my mannequin head down a little bit. And the way that you focus a light is you actually look at the shadow. So you don't look at the light on the subject. You actually focus the light by looking at where the shadow is positioned. And you want the hot spot, the hottest spot of the shadow, to sort of be in the center of that light. So I'm just turning these, I've got my top light on, I'm turning my front lights on at a little bit lower intensity. They're not both at the same, and I find that this mannequin head is lit well, and this part of the project is done.